Good morning. I'd like to call the council meeting for January 23rd to order. Just prior to starting, I'd like to recognize that we have Councillor Narayan in the meeting. While he's still elected officially, he has no standing beyond the public, but we welcome him at the meetings and appreciate always seeing him here. I'd also like to recognize former Mayor Chalmers sitting in the chambers this morning. Welcome. I'd like to start off with a land recognition. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the Blackfoot and the people of Treaty 7 in region Southern Alberta. We're also home to the Métis Region Nation of Alberta, Region 3. Is there any upgrades to the agenda, Mr. Vincent?
Mr. Official Administrator, the administration only brings forward emergent issues that need to be dealt with in a timely manner. We respectfully request we add item under Section 8, Reports for Decision, item 8.3, Financial Review for the City of Chestermere.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent. I'll move that the council adopt the agenda for the January 23rd, 2024 with the following amendment. Add item 8.3, Financial Review for the City of Chestermere. All in favor? Motion is carried. Moving on to the approval of the minutes. I move that council approve the January 9th regular council meeting minutes. All in favor? So moved. Approved. Thank you. With that, we have a public hearing appointments 4.1. Who's speaking to that one?
I will, Mr. Official Administrator. Item 4.1 is to do with the Calgary Metropolitan Region Board, in that the official administrator is the only member of council, and council needs to appoint a member of council to the Metropolitan Regional Board. We respectfully submit that council appoint the official administrator, Douglas Lagore, to the Calgary Metropolitan Region Board.
I'll move that council appoint the official administrator, Douglas Lagore, to the Calgary Metropolitan Region Board. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Police Communications Committee. Mr. Vincent?
Thank you very much, Mr. Official Administrator. Item 4.2 deals with membership to the Police Communications Committee. Administration has reviewed the number of appointments to committees, and we find it's in the city's best interest at this particular time to recommend that Mr. Richard Greer be removed from the, it says Protective Services, but it should read the Police Communications Committee, effective immediately.
I'll move that council remove Richard Greer from the Police Communications Committee, effective immediately. So moved. All in favor? Carried.
Mr. Lagore, may I say something?
I'm sorry, there's no opportunity to debate or to speak to the items. I can talk to you once we're done here. Thank you. Moving on, financial reports, 5.1 of the agenda.
Finance comes to council to seek approval for an additional $82,365 for the tennis and pickleball court projects. The funded source is from the Canada Community Building Grant. The original approved budget was for $100,000, and during the planning phase, the scope of the project changed. The new scope was to upgrade the tennis court to a pickleball court, resulting in a higher cost. The mayor and the city director of community operations approved the scope changes, the increase in cost, and signed the contract with the paving contractor. The project was completed by December 2023 with a total project cost of $182,365. Thank you.
Mr. Official Administrator, may I add some additional information? There was a comment in the social media that the city was spending a lot of money on a single pickleball court. I wish to advise council and community, and I have a picture if people want to see it afterwards, that we've converted a tennis court in the Cove park area to 3 pickleball courts and a half basketball court. So I believe the information that was out in the public was limited, and people reacted to what they perceived as being a single facility. It's one facility with 3 courts. So I hope that clarification satisfies the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vinson. It sounds like this was in the best interest of the city. It's unfortunate that it did not come to council for the proper approvals before proceeding. I'd like to move that council approve an increase of $82,365.45 for the tennis pickleball court project number 6724074, funding source from the Canadian Community Building Grant. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Thank you for your presentation. Moving on to bylaws, 6.1.
Good morning, Official Administrator. Legislative Services brings to Council Bylaw 001-24, being the procedural bylaw. Legislative Services came to Council for January 9th, 2024, for first reading the procedural bylaw. Since then, there has been a few amendments that have been made, including lastly to the renumbering and the removal of section 7.8.3, which was not covered in the initial report. Administration is looking for 2 motions today, in addition to the one provided earlier this morning, to give motion that council gives second reading to bylaw 001-24, being the procedural bylaw as amended, and motion that that council give third and final reading to bylaw 001-24, being the procedural bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Vinson.
Mr. Official Administrator, to you and to all those members who are seated in the public gallery today, the City of Chestermere was directed in a ministerial order to review its procedural bylaw, and we've done so, and we've done so very thoroughly. I want to confirm for the citizens of the City of Chestermere, we are following the gold standard in municipal organizational excellence. And when you go to Section 7 of this procedural bylaw, which is the council agenda format, there is no question period included in the agenda format. Simply, it is best practice and the gold standard not to have a question period. And I invite members of the public to observe other councils and their operations. But certainly based on the recommendation of one of the municipal gurus in Canada, Mr. George Cuff, if people want to approach council, they should do so by booking an appointment and appearing as a delegation. Therefore, the administration has not included the question period as part of the agenda. And I know when I was here as the interim CEO back in 2018, it was a matter of discussion back then, and it continues to be a matter of discussion for the community. But I strongly believe that we should meet the gold standard, and therefore the recommendation with regards to the procedural bylaw and the agenda format. Thank you very much, Mr. Official Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Vinson. I agree with your comments. The gold standard is make a presentation before council, and we welcome delegations at any time. And I commend administration. Over the past 18 months, this bylaw has been reviewed 3 times, and it's finally had the town of Spirit River removed from it. And I have one further amendment that I'd like to make to the bylaw prior to proceeding with second reading. And I will move that bylaw 00124, council procedure bylaw, be further amended by the removal of section 7.8.3 and the sections be renumbered accordingly. So moved. All in favor? Carried. We can now proceed with second and third reading, please. I'll move that council gives second reading to bylaw 00124, being the procedure bylaw as amended. So moved. All in favor? Carried. I'll move that council give third and final reading to bylaw 00124 being the procedure bylaw. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Kallen. With that, we'll move on to the next bylaw, which is the council code of conduct bylaw. Kallen, please.
Good morning again. Administration is seeking two motions from council to give second reading to bylaw 002-24 being the elected officials code of conduct bylaw as amended, and the second motion being motion that council give third and final reading to bylaw 002-24 being the elected officials code of conduct. In a similar fashion to the procedural bylaw, legislative services came to council on January 9th to receive first reading of the bylaw. There have been few amendments made, mostly clearing up some clerical issues, grammatical errors, and adding proper titles, as well as, so that was basically most of the amendments. So once again, administration is seeking two motions from council. Emily, if you could pull those up, please, for second reading and then for third and final reading.
Mr. Vincent, you have any comments?
Mr. Official Administrator, I have two comments. One, again, it was part of the directive from the Minister of Municipal Affairs that council in the city of Chestermere review the Code of Conduct bylaw. I'm very pleased that we have done a thorough review and the necessary changes which had been presented previously, and the changes that are being proposed today are highlighted in red. So anybody who opened up the agenda package and was going through could easily identify that. I thank my manager of Ledge Services for being so prudent that we share and we have open and transparent. I would add the comment that the most significant addition is Schedule B, which states, I, whoever the elected member of council is, hereby solemnly swear that I have read, understand, and agree to abide by the contents of bylaw 002-24, being the code of conduct for elected officials. So each elected official will have to prescribe to this particular schedule, and that is in addition to their oath of office, that they will bound themselves by the code of conduct bylaw. I think it's a significant addition to the bylaw. And this is the first municipality I work for that's included that requirement. So very proud again that we're hitting the gold standard for municipal organizational excellence. Thank you very much, Mr. Official Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent. I'll move that council give second reading to bylaw 002-24 being the elected official code of conduct bylaw as amended. So moved. All in favor? Carried. I'll move that council give third and final reading to bylaw 002-24 being the elected officials code of conduct bylaw. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Kallen, for your presentation. With that, we'll move on to bylaw 003, and I believe Ms. Armitage is presenting on this one.
Good morning. The bylaw that I'm presenting today is to amend the 35% cap on planned lot development within the MDP. This application, a similar version was brought forward previously in 2023 and had a public hearing. However, it did not proceed. And the applicant, I believe we have a representative. Nope, we don't have a representative with the applicant today, is looking now, instead of removing the cap, to amend the cap from 35% to 50%. And so the changes, simply that clause will be amended, as well as another clause will be added, which will say new residential areas should accommodate comprehensively designed communities that provide a mix of dwelling units from single detached planned lot, duplex/semi-attached, and multiple unit dwellings. This amendment is proposed at the 50% as discussed, and the intention is that the municipal development plan will likely be undergoing an overall review and update in the next year. And at that time, under a future council after the by-election, it would likely be reevaluated again for what that number is, if that number exists, and that would be through a comprehensive MDP update. So we are recommending that this proceed with first reading and that we set a public hearing date of February 13th at 9 a.m.
Thank you, Ms. Armitage. Mr. Vincent, do you have anything to add?
No, I think administration has worked very closely with Anthem to expedite the process, so there's no further delays. So certainly strongly support the recommendations.
With that, we'll proceed. Move that council give first reading to bylaw 00324 being the proposed planned lot cap municipal development plan amendment as presented. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Next motion. Move that council approve the scheduling of a public hearing for bylaw 00324 to take place on February 13th, 2024 at 9 a.m. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Ms. Armitage. With that, we'll move on to item 7.1. Morning, Stephen. Go ahead.
Good morning, official administrator. Okay, this is going to be a fairly simple motion for accepting his information. Recently, my department, which used to be called the Events Department, is now the Community Engagement Department. And the reason for that is we have simply added some diversity and inclusion responsibilities to our department. So we thought the name change was prevalent. With that said, part of that responsibility was making City Hall more inclusive. I talked to members of the community as well as staff in general, and a large problem in our community is that we don't have services for residents that may not be comfortable speaking English. Whether or not their English is good enough doesn't matter. If they're not comfortable speaking it, we need to be able to adapt, especially being a public building. So this is a translator, and this is going to be in reception desk. We're planning to get more for the building, for the planning desk upstairs, as well as the RCMP and CPO building. As far as I know, it's the first of its kind, maybe in Canada. I did a lot of research on it and couldn't find anything of the sort. The only risks we really have with this, because it's a device, is due to its nature, it could stop working. I know we all have technology issues every once in a while, so this is the same thing. But really, it's pretty easy to use. There's two screens, and they work the same on both. So if I press, hopefully it works. So if I press this, I'm talking, it's recognizing my speech, and it'll translate it to Hindi.
इसे दबाएं। मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, यह मेरे भाषण को पहचान रहा है और यह इसका हिंदी में अनुवाद करेगा।
It translates both text and obviously speech through the speakers. So hopefully residents will feel more comfortable coming to our building, and we can help them easier with it. And I will request a motion to accept this report as information.
Mr. Vincent, through to you and your team, congratulations. It's great to see the city is a leader in this, and I welcome your comments.
I think you've said it very well, Mr. Official Administrator. It gives me great pride that we have this kind of innovation and commitment from city staff. Mr. Burness has gone way beyond the gold standard to the platinum standard, and so we can celebrate perhaps that City of Chestermere is the premier municipality for diversity and inclusion, and want to recognize and congratulate him for this. Thank you so much.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Oh,
Very well done, Stephen. Thank you.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Move that council accept the translation device and front desk service report as information. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to 7.2.
Good morning, Mr. Official Administrator. Very excited to come with you to you today with some more pleasant news. This is coming from the Chestermere Communications and IT Department. As of January 15th, our Communications Department was notified that the City of Chestermere has been awarded a Golden AVA Award in recognition of the Chestermere Municipal website. This website stands as one of only few government organizations that were recognized in 2024, alongside the town of Okotoks, Leduc County from Ontario, the town of Algonquin Highlands from Ontario, and the city of Lemon Grove, California. The AVA Awards are an international competition that recognize outstanding works by creative professionals in the production and digital media. This includes audio and video production, social media and marketing campaigns, blogs, podcasts, and other forms of user-generated communication. These awards are administered and judged by the Association of Marketing and Communications Professionals. Submissions are accepted from across the world from corporate, nonprofit, and government organization. I'm very pleased to recognize my team today, starting with Mac Langan, who is our web developer, Inder Chahal, who is our photographer, as well as Coco Fernandez McKenna, who is our lead designer. I'd also like to recognize Olivia Johnson, who's not here with us, for her work on the website as well. At this point in time, we'd like to present this report to you and request that you accept the report as information.
Thank you, Ty, for your presentation. Congratulations once again to you and your team. Wonderful work. Nice to see the recognition. Mr. Vincent, do you want to add anything?
Again, Mr. Official Administrator, and to the residents of the City of Chestermere, we are being served by some outstanding talent in this organization, and it gives me truly great pride that this organization is recognized for the outstanding effort and the talent that we have. Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you very much.
I'll move the council accept the AVA Gold Digital Award Recognition Report as information. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Ty, and your team. Great job.
you.
Moving on to item 8.1.
Good morning, Official Administrator. My name is Muriel, and I'm here seeking two motions today. First one being that Council accept and ratify the Grant Adjudication Committee recommendations. The Grant Adjudication Committee met on January 17th to review and recommend the outstanding grant proposals for the community grant funding stream. The committee has recommended the organizations and programs for funding as attached in the council package. We could go to that page. Yes. So we're looking for that motion that council accept and ratify the Grant Adjudication Committee recommendations.
Thank you, Mira, for your presentation. First off, I just want to apologize to the not-for-profit groups again that the funding, movement of funds to you has been delayed so long. We sincerely apologize for that delay. We had an excellent meeting yesterday with the nonprofit groups. I think they appreciate where we're coming from now, and we are committed to be working with them and moving this forward. Unfortunately, the requests we get for funding far exceed the money that we have available, but we are committed to working with them, and we will continue to work with them as best we can. And with that, we'll move forward.
Mr. Official Administrator, if I
Go ahead, Mr. Vincent.
be permitted. So again, as the official administrator acknowledged, we had the opportunity to meet with the nonprofit organizations that could make a meeting yesterday afternoon, 3 o'clock here in council chambers to discuss funding. A number of questions were raised, and I met with staff following, so I can provide a detailed explanation now that I understand and can share with the nonprofits and the community with regards to funding. So there are 3 streams of funding. The FCSS budget, and I must admit that the province of Alberta provides 80% of that particular funding, and the city of Chestermere provides 20%, but we provide more than the 20% as our matching portion, so we oversubscribe on our funding commitment. The second stream is the United Way, and the third stream are community grants. And there's been some confusion because the first 2, FCSS and United Way, have been determined on a calendar basis, and the community grants have always been administered on a June to July or June to June basis. So that's led to some of the confusion. So community nonprofit organizations in 2022 applied for money and were approved for 2023. All groups received their 2023 funding. I've confirmed that. There was an amount of $140,000 from FCSS, $50,000 under the United Way, for a total of $190,000. $179,849 was distributed, and $10,106 was retained by FCSS that went to the Vitality grants, which were funding for summer programs operated by FCSS. So 2023 concluded, all funding was distributed. In 2023, groups applied for 2024 funding. We had a total amount of funding available of $130,000 from FCSS, $43,394 from United Way, for a total of $173,394. $173,394. This money was approved for distribution in the report that was presented to Council on January 9th of 2024, and all funding that was approved is currently in the process of being distributed, so all of our not-for-profit groups will be receiving their 2024 funding early in 2024 from the FCSS and United Way funding. Finally, the one that caused the greatest concern to myself is the community grant. So in 2022 and every year since, there's a total amount of $280,000. There's 2 account codes within the City of Chestermere's budget. One is for $130,000 and the other is for $150,000, for a total of $280,000. In 2022, an amount of $175,087 was expended out of those grants. For whatever reason, and directed by administration of the day, there was no carryover of the difference, so that money simply was not distributed nor handed out. In 2023, the same amount was budgeted. However, as the question was raised yesterday afternoon, why was the amount only $222,000, not the $280,000? Well, 2 things occurred. First of all, there was a community sponsorship grant of $8,000 that was taken out of that particular amount by administration, and further, $50,000 of funding was taken from this budget and diverted to the community events budget. So you have $58,000 minus $280,000. It comes out to $222,000. So that is the explanation. So for the these grants now are being recommended for approval in today's agenda. Not the full amount of the grants, I believe. We're trying to. I think the total amount is $199,060 is being asked to be approved. So there's approximately $23,000 unexpended that's being held back. And I think it was mentioned yesterday to not-for-profit groups that if there's emergent projects that come up throughout the year, that we still have some funding that's available. The last comment, Mr. Official Administrator, the administration is proposing to change the process so that it follows a calendar year budget-wise. Just simply, it's good practice, and again, our desire to meet the gold municipal standard. So starting in this year, we will add an additional 50%. So there will be $140,000 that will be available to bridge the final 6 months of the calendar year 2024. We've spoken in-house, and we'll be looking at calling for proposals at some later date, probably 1st of April, 1st of May, I'm not sure, but we'll give groups sufficient time to apply so that the funding for the second half of 2024 can be made available quickly and readily to bridge that. And then this fall, and I'm not sure what Olympia has in mind in terms of dates, but it'll probably follow similarly to the FCSS and United Way grants, that the application for the community grants for 2025 will be made. So hopefully, Mr. Official Administrator, we have finally cleared the air on all of this for the groups. I'm very happy that I understand it and I can explain it to residents and to groups now, and that we have a process in place in moving forward. I thank you very much. Sorry, it's a lengthy presentation, but I hope it's provided the clarity. And certainly, if there's any questions afterwards, I'll be available to answer those questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent. It's disappointing to see that funds were transferred out of the grant program without council approval and put into different categories. I'd also like to add, Mr. Vincent, when you put out the call for the $140,000 for the remainder of 2024, that we add in the $22,000 and change that is left over from the current program. We need to get that funds out to the nonprofit groups. There was a lot of emotion in that room there yesterday afternoon, and justifiably so. The groups have been treated badly. They are the lifeblood of this community, and we need to support them as a city wholeheartedly. And I really appreciate the work that they do in this community. It is beyond belief, the things that they do. I think we should put the first motion up before we put the amendment, if we could, please. I'll move that council accept and ratify the grant adjudication committee recommendations as presented in the attached council package. And then, if I could get the amendment, please. I'll move that council recommend that the grant to the Ace Volleyball Club for $43,000 be referred to the adjudication committee for reevaluation. I'll move the amendments. So moved. All in favor? Carried. And then we can move with the original motion. And I'll move that council accept and ratify the grant adjudicator commissions as presented in the attached council agenda package and amend it. So moved. All in favor? Carried. And then if we could, council extend the appointments of the following grant adjudication committee members' current term until October 31st, 2024. Bal Saul, Mary Lee Duff, Nisha John, Scott Theisnes, Kallen Sheck, Murray Grant, and Phil Hotker. So moved. All in favor? Carried. And Mr. Vincent, I would ask that you and administration work as expediently as you can to expedite this process to get this money out to these groups. I don't want to wait see them have to wait until fall to have the benefit of the funds. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to item 8.2. Kallen, please.
Good morning once again, Official Administrator. Legislative Services is coming to Council to look for the rescinding of Policy 023-16, being the Protective Services Communication Committee, and to reinstate Policy 022-11, being the Police Communications Committee, with all the current members of the Protective Communications Committee being appointed to the Protective Services Communications Committee. On October 31st, 2023, during the regular council meeting, it was decided to change the name in the contract, or the contract of the Police Communications Committee. Sorry, there's too many things together, to include fire and emergency services. At the January 9th, 2024 regular council meeting, a representative from the RCMP servicing Chestermere expressed concern that the committee was not consulted prior to these changes, and that it would have a negative monetary impact on them due to all the merchandise and branding that the committee has already purchased and acquired. So until a proper consultation process is done, Legislative Services recommends that we just rescind our current Protective Services Communication Committee and reinstate the old policy.
Thank you, Kallen. I'll move that Council rescind Policy 02316, being the Protective Service Communications Committee, and reinstate Policy 02211, being the Police Communications Committee, with all the current members of the Protective Communications Committee being appointed to the Protective Services Communications Committee. So moved. All in favor?
Excuse me, sorry, before you call the vote, I think we need to change the wording to the Police Communications Committee. It was repeated, I believe, in error. So I believe the proper motion is the current members of the Protective Communications Committee being appointed to the Police Communications Committee. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent. So I'll restate the motion. Move that Council rescind Policy 02316, being the Protective Service Communication Committee, and reinstate Policy 02211, being the Police Communications Committee, with all current members of the Protective Communications Committee being appointed to the Police Communications Committee. So moved. All in favor? Carried. Mr. Vincent, 8.3, please.
Mr. Official Administrator, the recommendation is that the Official Administrator accept the January 19th, 2024 correspondence from the Honorable Rick McIver, Minister for Alberta Municipal Affairs, and Ministerial Order Number MSD 005/24, announcing an inspection in the form of a financial review for the City of Chestermere as information. Secondly, that the Official Administrator, as recommended by the Minister, direct administration to publish the correspondence and the ministerial order on the City of Chestermere website. And finally, that the Official Administrator direct the administration to cooperate fully with Deloitte, Inc., who has been appointed as inspector to conduct an inspection into the financial management of the City of Chestermere for the period of October 18th, 2021 to December 4th of 2023. The background to this, Mr. Official Administrator, is on December 4th of 2023, the Honorable Rick McIver, Minister for Alberta Municipal Affairs, issued correspondence to the members of Council and Chief Administrative Officer, and pursuant to Sections 574 and 575.2 of the Municipal Government Act, through Ministerial Order Number MSD 076/23, dismissed members of Council and the Chief Administrative Officers. In the December 4th, 2023 correspondence, the Minister stated the following: I have also decided to undertake a further inspection in the form of a financial review of the City of Chestermere. The Minister for Municipal Affairs, the Honorable Rick McIver, directed correspondence dated January 19th, 2024 to the official administrator, Doug Lagore, to which Ministerial Order number MSD 005/24 was attached. The implications are the firm of Deloitte, Inc. has been appointed as inspector to conduct an inspection into the financial management of the City of Chestermere for the period of October 18th, 2021 to December 4th of 2023. The administration will be tasked with cooperating fully with Deloitte, Inc. while they conduct an inspection into the financial management of the City of Chestermere for the period of October 18th, 2021 to December 4th of 2023. The inspector's report will provide the city feedback on the appropriateness of financial controls and other additional clarity to the public regarding the financial position of the city in advance of voting in the future by-election. This measure of transparency is important in ensuring residents of the city are fully informed and confident in the measures being taken to establish effective governance and management. This is all according to Section 571 of the Municipal Government Act. And attached to the report, Mr. Official Administrator, is the December 4th, 2023 correspondence, Ministerial Order MSD 076/23, correspondence dated January 19th, 2024, and Ministerial Order MSD 00524. That, sir, is my report.
Thank you, Mr. Vinson. If we could have the motion, please. I'll move that the official administrator accept the January 19th, 2024 correspondence from the Honorable Rick McIver, Minister for Alberta Municipal Affairs, and Ministerial Order number MSD 005/24 announcing inspection in the form of financial review for the City of Chestermere as information, and that the official administrator, as recommended by the minister, direct administration to publish the correspondence and the ministerial order on the City of Chestermere website, and that the official administrator direct administration to cooperate fully with Deloitte, who have been appointed as inspector to conduct the inspection in the financial management of the City of Chestermere for the period October 18th, 2021 to December 4th, 2023. So moved. And just prior to calling for the vote, a couple of comments, Mr. Vinson. I have no question that staff will fully cooperate with Deloitte, and I would ask that you please make them aware of the two items that we dealt with this morning, the movement of funds from the grant program without proper council approval, and the change in the contract for the pickleball courts without council approval. And with that, I will call the question on the matter. All in favor? So carried. Thank you. And with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for your attendance.